melting down. We'll be talking about that later on. But I guess the big news, of course, over the weekend, was what happened in South Carolina. And it was a 60-40 victory for Donald Trump.
Is it big news?
That was big news.
I don't know. I mean, I think we knew it was coming. So bad news for Nikki Haley because she loses her home state, right? But, I mean, are we surprised by the percentages? I've already heard the liberal folks being like, oh, Trump's got a problem. She got 40. She should have only gotten 35. But apparently she also outspent him like 12-1 or something and had made, lots of campaign stops. He had kind of moved on. So I think it's kind of what I expected. Again, I'm still wondering what she's still doing in the race, what the play is there for her. And I can't quite put my finger on that.
Well, she's pretty confident about what the play is. She knows exactly what it is.
Which is?
She wants her UN ambassador job back.
Michigan tomorrow.
We're headed to Michigan tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Michigan primary.
We're headed to the Super Tuesday states throughout all of next week.
But there's a gentleman that has something that may disagree with that.
Michigan's coming up. We're doing great. The auto workers are going to be with us 100% because they got sold out by this country. But Michigan's up, and we're going to have a tremendous success there. And then we have a thing called Super Tuesday. And
Super Tuesday.
I think we're leading 91-7.
Here's a guy. Can you imagine yourself being under indictment in 4 different courts? You've already been nailed to a cross financially with $455 million in liability just to file an appeal. He's got to come up with $455 million, and he's just got this playful demeanor about him. They call it Super Tuesday.
It's great. Well, and if we're looking at Michigan, I was just pulling up the latest polling results.
Yeah.
And the latest Emerson poll out has Trump up, I think, by 52. And some of the other polls up 60, up 50, up 43.
Yeah.
So if that's what the result is tomorrow.
Yeah.
You think she's still going to hang on through Super Tuesday?
Well, perhaps the nail in her coffin is that the Americans for Prosperity Organization has pulled their funding. They've stopped.
That's fair. And that's how a lot of campaigns eventually come to their death, is that they run out of money. Now, she hasn't really had that problem because she has been so well funded. But typically, I mean, you saw like Ron DeSantis started losing staff and money and everything else. But it's tough.
What happens end of March? What's the magic number? 1,200 and something of the GOP delegates and all. And I think at last check, Trump had like 60 some delegates, and Nikki was under 20. So
Yeah. Well,
time's wasted.
I think that after Super Tuesday, which is just in a couple weeks, I think it's going to be all over. Now, the Missouri Republican caucus is this Saturday, and ahead of that is the Boone County Lincoln Days on Thursday. I understand there will probably be a few tickets at the door, not a lot. I don't know. We'll get some more clarity on that as the week goes on. I'm looking forward to that. I looked at the as of yesterday evening final list of speakers, and it's going to be a cavalcade of campaign speaking.
What now?
A cavalcade of campaigns. Isn't that a good word?
Say that 10 times fast.
A cavalcade of campaigns. So we'll make sure that the time management will be brisk and abrupt and as accurate and on time as we are here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. So that we hit all of the marks. This 7:25.
So we're going to be there until midnight.
6:25 Daily DC Rundown. 7:25 What's Hot with Hannah. 7:45-ish for John Marsh. I mean, we're going to always hit all of the marks.
Where's our, we have one of those bullhorns in here. You need to bring that
I don't know
with you.
Oh, here it is.
Oh, yeah, there you go. You need to bring that with you, okay?
Actually, I think we have a couple of tools that I think we may employ. We're going to deploy some advanced technology, maybe. I don't know. Been working it out with Tony Lupo.
You're probably not, but maybe Tony Lupo.
You'll be surprised. I think I'm going to try to go paperless on this because I've been experimenting.
That makes me so nervous. I always do paper
That
for
makes you
in-person events.
Well, I'm not saying there won't be a backup.
That's also because Stephanie never remembers to charge her devices.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
You mean you have it all loaded there and then you run out of juice?
My devices are never charged.
Every morning she comes in, oh, I didn't charge my phone. Oh, my watch is almost dead.
I didn't even remember my watch today.
I can't find my computer charger.
You know, it's really, my wife's been using one of these Aura rings. I gave her an Aura for Christmas, and she really likes it, and she charges it every night, and it's really very cool. I'm seeing more and more people have those on. It's very, very nice. Brian Hauswirth, what's going on in your world? Do we have a new athletic director? Do we know anything of why Desiree has deserted, why she's gone?
No, we don't. I mean, it's, there's been a lot of speculation and stuff, and I think in many ways we'll probably never hear everything, but I think a lot of it had to do with she wanted to go home. She made that very clear, but as far as really elaborating on that, not really too much. And it's going to take some time. I keep seeing message boards and people speculating on names and things like that. With anything, I tell people, whether it's coaches or athletic directors, they keep those things pretty tight to the vest. And I think when they're ready to announce something, we'll get it. I don't see much.
What is the average tenure for an athletic director?
Well, we've had at the University of Missouri, so I don't know. It's a great question. People that have been around forever and ever. It depends on what school. For Mizzou, there have been 4 in about the last 11 or 12 years. Now, keep in mind, Mac Rhodes didn't stay very long, and Stirk wasn't here very long, and she was here about 3 years. Alden was here a long time. He came in.
Yeah, Mike was here a while.
Yeah, exactly. And, some of our older listeners remember there was a guy named Dick Tamburo. I remember him and many others. Joe Castiglione. It's just
Don Farrow. You want to go way back.
Exactly.
According to Athletic Director U, my authoritative source, the average tenure of all 348 athletic directors in Division I is 6.83 years, down from about 7 in 2016.
And so much has changed. When I started doing college football scoreboards in 1999, there were coaches who had been Joe Paterno and Bobby Bowden, and I could go down the line, and they'd been there forever. Even if they had down years, they'd been there forever. And you just don't even see that with coaches anymore. It's hard to, and then the conference realignment, it's really, a lot has changed.
Do you notice we've not said one word about Mizzou basketball this year? It's been really, in contrast to last year, which was really a Cinderella year.
Say.
Yeah.
Is it the same team? Is it? But what happened?
They're in every game. That's the thing. They're in every game, but they just.
Why is everyone cringing? We have to bring it up. We have to talk about it.
Nothing to be.
I'm laughing at Brian's face and the fact he took a deep breath.
He took
before
a deep breath. That sigh.
Yeah, exactly.
That sigh was like.
Yeah. But I really, people, I was with Chris Trevino Saturday evening. We had people coming up to the table and asking us about it. I mean, the bottom line, he had just gotten back from Arkansas. I had just happened to see him at a restaurant, but. They have been in every game. It's just last year they won those games. Last year they won a lot of tight games that maybe they shouldn't have won, but they had confidence. And I think a lot of it, they've been in every game, including the Arkansas game. It's just for what they it hasn't happened, and
it's so frustrating. Even the coach dropped an FCC prohibited term recently, which we can't play.
I believe the quote was effing terrible at it.
Yeah, he did,
but
and
it wasn't quite abbreviated like that.
0-14 in SEC play. Not much more to say.
It was a very authentic commentary. Now,
and he also encouraged Natalie Jones of Channel 17 to go ahead and not bleep me out. But Dennis, we have to bleep that out. But yes, he did.
On the good news front, the annual Miracles for Kids Radiothon raised more than $225,000 last Thursday and Friday. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for all you did for the kids on that Thursday and Friday.
It was an amazing thing. I'm going to have a story up on the Eagle and KWS here shortly. I've been updating the website this weekend, but it is amazing. We talked about the Angel and Bobby family, Campbell family in Columbia. Their daughter Isla basically almost died, and their mom could have died too, and they credit the hospital for saving their lives. And then we had the the interview and profile with Ethan Nevins of Eugene, and John knows that family very well and one of 1,200 cases around the world. Very, very powerful. We thank all of our listeners and thank the sponsors as well for their generosity, including Missouri Credit Union, the A1 Containers, Big O Tires. It was a great event and outstanding.
And whoever, I forget her name, but whoever called and made our Charles, who was the loneliest guy in town, as we kicked off the Radiothon on Thursday.
The guy you were referring to,
Charles,
was the
just
Maytag repairman.
he was staffing the Big O phone bank from the Walmart guy. He works at the bakery and Walmart at Delhi.
Yes.
And he hadn't had a call, and I was begging someone to call. Someone called and gave $1,500.
That's right.
It's amazing. So it's very, very nice. Thank you. Whether you gave $5 or $1,500 or you were a miracle maker or a super miracle maker, it matters not. You gave, and that was important.
And it was a tremendous event, and it's going to save a lot of lives. There's no doubt about it. And we thank everyone, including Zimmer, for putting that on. It was a lot of work, but we really enjoyed it.
Lots coming on today. We've got Scott Faughn at 7:10. Cody Smith, who's the House Budget Chair. That'll be an interesting discussion at 8:10. So a lot ahead. And
been a lot of controversy surrounding her. But I thought she would have made it through this existing election cycle. Now, Trump has already kind of named the next people that he wants. He has said he wants Michael Whatley, who's the chairman of the North Carolina Republican Party, and then he wants Laura Trump as the RNC co-chair. Randy, you disagree?
Oh, my God.
Should we let Trump handpick?
What is this, a dynasty? What is this, the imperial presidency?
I mean, Trump thinks so.
Are we going to have Prince Harry and King Charles and, Kate Middleton? What's this all about? I disagree wholeheartedly.
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of how, usually your leader has a lot to say with who is in charge of your party, both at the national level and the state level. And I think what the voters have told us thus far is that this is still Trump's party.
When you run for president, I hope you don't nominate Chris to run the party.
I mean, he's not nominating Melania.
I'm sorry. I think it's a mistake. He's giving them fodder for being a dictator and a dynastic president. I think it's a problem.
Well, okay. I think a little bit of a leadership shakeup is probably good. We had we've had some pretty bad losses recently, and we've underperformed expectations. And so I'm hoping people can get energized under some new leadership.
What do you think about what Whatley can do to revive donations? Because, the Democrats are cleaning the Republicans' clock when it comes to donations. I'm thinking all of these lavish expenditures and apartments and chauffeurs and, lavish gatherings. I think he needs to put an end to that. It needs to be McDonald's at the Super 8 Inn,
That's not really how these things go. But I do think that, people, with new leadership, hopefully he can kind of get people energized and get us on a path. But you're right. The Democrats are raising a lot of money. I think also getting down to one candidate and getting behind one person and feeling like you're going to win will probably draw in some dollars. So while we have that leadership shakeup, we are also staring down another government shutdown in Congress. That deadline, I believe, is Friday. March 1st.
Yep.
They were supposed to release some sort of plan, I believe, last night. We haven't seen it yet. And there's not a lot of agreement. We always say that, though, and they always kind of pull it off right at the last minute.
I think he's meeting with congressional leaders if he can stay awake tomorrow, I understand.
All right, and we've got a lot of important dates coming up. So we've got the Michigan primary.
Yep.
That's tomorrow. We've got, with respect to Nikki Haley, Randy, you mentioned, we have heard that AFP is pulling their funding from Nikki Haley, so that's an issue for her. Now, at the same time, No Labels has stepped up and said they're definitely interested in Haley as a potential third-party candidate, which before they had told, they had said that, maybe it would, they didn't say, but there was speculation that it could be Manchin, and he's officially said he's out. And then at the same time, while we're looking at Congress's schedule, at some point the Senate's going to have to put Mayorkas on trial in the midst of this government shutdown problem. And then also Joe Biden will be giving the State of the Union on March 7th.
Juicy and delectable treats await all of you as we continue to follow through the week. We're looking at a government shutdown. It's been pretty much, no one's heard about that till, now, right?
They always wait till the last minute.
Yeah, well, they got to stop that nonsense.
What's wrong with that?
Meanwhile, Mike Johnson continues to be under siege, right? He can't do anything much different than Kevin McCarthy because of the infighting and a very thin majority. So it's a tough time out there.
And I'm personally looking forward to the State of the Union because, Joe Biden's been on the decline, and I can't imagine him. It's gonna be interesting.
Anybody see the video of him holding hands with Nancy Pelosi trying to board the plane?
Oh yeah, they sort of meandered down the tarmac. I had gathered a bunch of leaves and refuse, and I was going to burn it.
We're already ready to fight this morning in the studio.
And nothing, and then I hear that there's a no burn alert today.
Don't do it. And there are a lot of fires. Like, I know our Southern Boone people were out a lot this weekend. So I saw the St. Louis Weather Service said, absolutely do not burn anything right now.
Dry and windy, huh?
Hannah, your Brandon's been kind of busy too, huh?
Yeah, they had a decently sized fire yesterday that ended up reigniting an hour or two after they put it out. So be very careful.
So now we've got, John, there's an issue going on in Jefferson City concerning yard waste. What's that all about?
Well, that's a deal where Jefferson City, up until council's decision last week, had a contractor who provided free yard waste recycling. All you had to do was drop it off and be a resident inside the city limits. And the council had a couple of proposals from two entities and turned thumbs down on both of them because of the cost. So no more dropping off your yard waste. And Jefferson City, between November 1st and March 1st, allows open burning and burn barrels and all, but one with the super dry conditions we're having, and that ends on Friday as well. So
now, was that a value added by the current contractor, or was it something being subsidized by the city?
Yeah, city was paying the contractor to do this. Planning and Protective Services said they had about $60,000 in cost at their temporary waste site, and they closed that one up last month. And city budgeted almost $200,000, I think, for that service.
Huh. Well, you'd think if they were just to raise the parking violation fees, maybe they could pay for it. I'd gladly contribute to that, and I have.
It's a big deal, though. I mean, for folks like me, you have like farms and stuff. And Randy, you were telling us
I live outside the city limits in Columbia.
Stuff up. But even, Jeff City has so many trees. I remember that was like one of our chores growing up, is like we always had to rake the leaves and pick up the sticks. Well, that's got to go somewhere, especially if you're not burning. And then, even in Ashland, if you live in the suburbs like me, we still have a lot of yard waste, and there's nowhere to take it. And so I know City of Ashland, you can call, and Salter helps us out, and they'll come pick it up.
Why is there no burning? Why can't you just responsibly burn? I remember as a kid visiting my grandma and grandpa in North St. Louis on Leylight Avenue, right there in the middle, right down from Northwest High School. And
it was a major sticking point in Jefferson City, as Stephanie can remember from a number of years ago, the burn barrel ban that got
It's equivalent
put
to
into
the
place,
roll card issue, right?
It was worse.
Yard waste is to Jefferson City as roll carts are to Columbia.
No, but I mean, is there a documented decrease in hazard fires due to the burn? Did they see a documented decrease after that went down? If you can't measure it, you can't change it, right?
I think most people think it's insane that we're allowed to burn at all, right?
Why? Yeah. Who says that?
Colombians.
Well, those are the same people that want to build a hotel for homeless people and, have drag queen shows and an LGBTQ ban. And, if you're a healthcare provider and you deny service for someone, you might get prosecuted in Columbia for all I know. I mean, what is this? Just because someone thinks it's right, does the science say it's right? Anthony Lupo wouldn't contest it.
I like your idea. I think we should put the pressure on Jefferson City and see what that data is as far as fire.
There's something about the wonderful smell of a pile of burning leaves. It's almost as good as a cigar.
It's lovely.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I remember when the big debate went down, and Steph might as well. I remember the big part of it was people with open windows and people with asthma and all that, and that was a big debate.
Hey, there's a thing
they can't handle the smoke.
There's a thing called closing your windows.
Close the window, turn on the AC, right?
I'm sorry, I'm a simple guy. That happened to me the other night. My wife, God love her, she's the greatest cook. She revels in sauces. Loves to do sauces because the great cooks make great sauces and that embellishes things.
A sauché.
But I told her the other day, I just want a beautiful marbled steak, some emerald green broccoli, a nice Caesar salad with just a little dribble of Caesar.
Wow,
just
you
simple.
don't want much.
Well done, beautiful. But she likes to put a lot of sauce. I'm a simple guy that way. Why not simple solutions to these complex problems? Just
Burn
let people
whatever
burn.
you want.
Burn, baby, burn.
Speaking of burning and cooking, Randy called me a couple weeks ago in the evening, and all you can hear in the background is the smoke detector going off. And he was very unbothered. And I had him on speakerphone, and of course the firefighter husband was, his ears perked up instantly. He's like, is everything okay?
Yeah.
You need to check on that. What were you doing?
Well, no. Well, when she's cooking certain things, we have a smoke detector, and I guess it's the heat or the smoke or
And
both.
you threw her right under the bus.
And it goes off. I don't care. I don't know. You notice me. When I'm focused on something, you cannot. I'm like a bird dog on point. You cannot pull me off.
It's accurate. Last week we had our Missouri Credit Union Miracles for Kids Radiothon.
True.
And I did my first air shift, and Randy, you and I were partnered up.
Yes.
And I tried twice to ask you a question, and you were reading something on your little iPad, and
Yes.
so you totally did not hear me. And so the third time I went to ask, I finally decided to start filming so I could catch you ignoring me on camera.
No, it's not.
And of course, you magically heard me that time.
Now, wait a minute, though. It's not ignoring. You should look at this the other way. Like Gavin Newsom is trying to legitimize Biden's age. And he says, actually, that's the reason he's so effective. It's because the wisdom that comes with the years. Did you hear that over the weekend? Oh,
No.
yeah. I mean, he's got his head so far up Biden's, you know what? He could do a tonsillectomy. I'm telling you, it's something. And
That was a visual I didn't need this morning.
And no, but now, Hannah, if I was thinking about your medical condition, if I was operating on you, if I was focused on something that was existentially threatening to you,
Yeah.
you would want me you would want me ignoring Stephanie Bell talking to me about a subcommittee hearing in the down at Jefferson City, right?
Yeah. When I'm trying to ask you a question 30 seconds before our break starts, though.
That is what you should be focused on. You need to use the what I use with my kids and my husband sometimes, where I'm like, look at my face, and then we have a conversation, because I know if they're like distracted at all, they won't hear.
But no
what
one-
I-
Just like when Randy tries to ask me a question in the studio.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have his headphones on, so I can't, talk in his ear.
Right.
I know not to answer because he won't hear me.
You could
anyways.
just yell louder.
There's no
I just did that.
there's
It
no
did work
volume.
eventually.
There's no volume I could yell for you to hear me.
Now, Stephanie has these high-dollar headphones that you can actually hear ambient sound through them.
We need to
They're
get you
very
a
nice.
pair of these.
Yeah, I don't know. I like not hearing now and then. It's okay, right, John? Isn't that important?
There's a lot to be said for that.
Now, you might know, I was researching on the iPad. I think I was looking into the latest on gene therapy for cystic fibrosis, because that has me jazzed. A lot of the money that people gave to the Miracle for Kids Radiothon, in amalgam, $225,000 and some, and 100.3, I think. That goes to that research. So I was looking gene therapy for cystic fibrosis. It was very important stuff I was focused on. You diminished that.
I didn't say it wasn't important.
It's not a matter of being more important. It was just I was locked in. If a fighter pilot is chasing the Russian fighter, right, or the Chinese fighter, you know how it goes, beep, 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 beep. You don't want to take it off. You don't want to take it off the mark.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
You
Yes.
also have to check 6 and look behind you to see if the other guy isn't sneaking
That's
up on you
right.
there.
Well, no, that's true, John. I should have done that. Yeah.
I was the other guy.
Well, have you not seen Top Gun and Top Gun 2 and Top
No,
Gun
I
Maverick
haven't.
and No? Okay.
Shame on
No,
you.
I haven't.
You
Hannah.
haven't seen that?
No.
You gotta watch
Hannah,
it.
I thought you were culturally
Oh.
so light years ahead of the old boy here.
No, I am not cultured whatsoever.
She doesn't feel the need for speed.
Well, when we come back, there was a cute Saturday Night Live skit on Saturday Night Live skit on Donald Trump and his shoes.
What night was that?
We will play that. Huh? I don't know. I'm just working on it. I don't know. I'll let you know when we come back. before he even aired any one thing.
But now he's back.
In light of the new the Donald Trump shoes, which were they netting? What was it? $499. It's incredible
Honestly,
amounts.
I really want a pair.
You want a pair?
Yeah. They're like gold.
They're
cute.
gold. They look extra typical, over the top, garish Donald Trump, just like Mar-a-Lago. Everything is gold gilt, including the steaks they serve, for all I know. And here's just a little bit of that Saturday Night Live skit. Now, I'll have to describe a little for you, but it starts with a guy with long Trump-like hair. This is Shane Gillis, sitting in an office setting, an open office setting in his cubicle, sort of sitting back like I'm a loser.
2-year-old Gordon Dwyer just couldn't catch a break. Not at work. Dwyer! Not in love.
You have zero matches.
And especially not on the court.
He's shooting basketball. Doesn't even hit the backboard.
Nice shot, idiot.
Why am I such a loser?
But that's all about to change.
Gordon, thought you could use these. Donald J. Trump? Whoa, Trump.
And here comes the glowing gold, like the Ark of the Covenant, when he opens the box.
And Gordon Dwyer's about to find out that winning.
So he's back on the court. He misses again.
How did you miss that?
Is a state of mind.
I didn't miss. It went in.
All right.
From Newsmax Studios and the writer of Like Mike comes another magical sneaker movie for white people.
So you're saying these Trump shoes made you good at basketball? No, they give me the power to say I'm good at basketball and then double down on that until people actually start to believe it.
Now he gets whatever he wants.
Mr. Mitchell, everybody's saying I should have your office because my cubicle is a disaster right now.
Well, can I have a minute to gather my things?
Bye-bye.
He gets whoever he wants.
Wow, that was the most fantastic lovemaking you've ever had.
Not really. It only lasted
2 hours. That was a 2-hour love session. You had a big O in there, a very big O, but...
I did? No. Want to go again?
I'd love to, but you're too tired.
And he is whatever he says he is.
Excuse me. It's 170.
The scale says 250.
Now he's a brand new man. And people are noticing.
Nice shoes. But you know, in many ways, the real magic has been inside of you all along. Wrong. It comes from the shoes, and you're coming off as very stupid and, frankly, quite rude walking in here like this.
And here's at the very end.
You got new shoes, too?
A guy that's wearing Air Bidens.
Air Bidens. Now pass me the rock. Here we go. Uh-oh.
And the guy wearing Air Bidens falls over.
Just takes a nosedive. Well, and Shane Gillis has been known for a long time for having like an amazing Trump impersonation.
Yeah, it's very good.
He's one of the best.
He and Sean Farish, I think, are two of the best on that.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I think it's calling out what everyone knows about Trump. I had the biggest inauguration rally. The Capitol was full. The Capitol Plaza was full of, the mall was full of, the more people than any inauguration. You look at the pictures, it's just not true.
But that's not really just a Trump thing. That's kind of a politician thing.
And also a dude thing.
Well, but not just a dude thing, because, it typically is. But look at Nikki Haley when she's like, there's 2 people left in this race. And it's like, girl, you got third.
Yeah.
And so she's got kind of caught, maybe it's contagious. She's caught it a bit as well. And, I saw people posting memes yesterday of her like shooting a basket, missing and being like, I won, and she's got a little bit of that. And you've got to like project. I think people like when you project confidence, and you have to a certain extent, especially if you're spending, all the Koch brothers' money. You need to say like, I'm a winner, I'm going to win. But just like, yikes.
But we get mad at people, and I think there may be some civil some statute against falsifying a record when it comes to your resume, right? If you make a government application and you don't you testify that's
But everyone stretches the truth on their resume.
Like yesterday when we were cutting down honey locusts at the farm, and I told my wife I cut down at least 30, maybe 3 dozen. Big ones. It was great. It felt like I was just felling Democrats. It was lovely. I just love it.
He comes in this morning. He's like, "You want to see the scratches on my arms?"
I have scratches. It's good. It's great. Big 18-inch chainsaw. I love it. There's something about chainsawing. It's just wonderful.
And
it's kind of the George Santos style of chainsawing, right? Blow it out of proportion a little bit.
No, so I think I counted at least 2 dozen and maybe a few more than that. But I did. I told her, I said, yeah, I knocked down 30 of them. I rounded up.
You rounded up. Well, and I did not use a chainsaw yesterday, but the weather, I feel so good today. I went to the park in Ashland. It was bad. There were so many people out enjoying the nice weather, and I think we're going to get it again today and tomorrow, and then maybe
it plummets.
Maybe snow.
It plummets tomorrow evening.
Yeah.
But that'll be.
But it's back up next weekend again as well.
Yeah, and it'll be. It'll feel like Switzerland tomorrow evening. We're gonna have that meeting, which they've moved to the courtyard at Marriott. Now, for those of you, apparently there's been an overwhelming response.
Yay!
Because Scotty Cox is going to Switzerland, and I'll be tagging along.
Perfect.
Helene and I are going to be going to Switzerland along with Scotty Cox and a crew from there. And so whether you're listening on KWOS, whether you're listening here on 93.9 The Eagle, or if you occasionally turn on Clear 99, we're gonna have a great time. I'm working. I bought a bunch of this pre-made fondue stuff.
Okay.
And some little Toblerone bars. But my wife reminds me, who's going to prepare the fondue and cut up the bread cubes and do the apples and all that? I'm working on that. Hannah, got any ideas? Hannah?
Well, I mean, it was your idea.
Okay.
You need an intern or something.
Yeah. I'm working on it. But we're going to have some fun. We're going to learn about all of the congratulate you for great remarks at a great event, Scott. Welcome in.
Oh, we had a good time. It was very interesting. I like seeing all the folks kind of elbowing and jockeying for position in the primaries. We're filing will start tomorrow, and we had a good time. It was good. It was good. It was a good event.
Yeah. Hey, lots going on in Missouri politics and beyond. But let's start with the announcement last week of Lincoln Huff for lieutenant governor. What's your analysis there?
Well, you asked me if there was somebody that hadn't announced yet that would be a serious candidate, and as you know, I'm not the one to say I told you. Actually, I'm totally the one to say I told you so. I think I told you Lincoln Huff would be running.
Yeah.
Look, if you want somebody to whine all day, if you want somebody that drives a little tiny car and spends their days angry on Facebook, you are going to hate Lincoln Huff. He's a cattleman. He has a real job. He actually runs a business. He has the job. Every Republican I've ever met, when they run statewide, they suddenly get a pair of boots I'd never seen them wear before. They find a tractor, take a picture in front of. Lincoln Huff actually has the job every Republican that runs for statewide office pretends they have. Look, I think, it'll be interesting. If Lincoln Huff tries to come in and gets trapped into some 80-point debate over each one of his votes, he'll lose. But if he just comes in and kind of the truth is, I've met Donald Trump a couple of times. I don't know him. The person on TV, the person privately that's the most like Donald Trump is actually Lincoln Huff. He actually says what he thinks. He's kind of funny. He to call him a jerk sometimes could be rounding up. The person whose personality is the most like President Trump would be Lincoln Huff. And if he lets that out, I think he's got a very good chance to win.
All right. So filing is tomorrow. Any other surprises you're expecting this week?
I think there's going to be a surprise on the Democrat side. Mike Hamra is a Springfield guy who's going to, I guess, come in and try to buy the primary, which is possible. This guy not only didn't live in Missouri for 10 years, guess where he lived?
Where?
Chicago.
Oh.
Where the Cubs are.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. The guy's been living, I think he just moved back to Springfield. His dad's from Springfield, very famous businessman, owns a bunch of chain restaurants down there. He just moved back to Springfield like three at the most years ago. His kids were going to school in Chicago. He voted in Chicago. Now I guess he's going to take his Cubs fan hat off and try to run for governor. I think he's going to have a rockier time than he thinks, with folks being like, you're not even from here.
It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, this is an interesting election cycle because there's so many of these national issues that I think are going to filter into discussions at the state level, don't you?
That was really the death of Missouri. That's been our biggest problem. Is we used to be a bellwether state. Folks used to just size folks up, vote for the man or woman they thought was best. Now, let's be honest. We all get our news on our phones. We're sheep. National stuff influences state government. It's been the worst that's ever happened to Missouri state government is we let these national people in. That's why I always say, if they have a 202 number, don't believe them. I know Stephanie loves those people, but the worst people, the last person to ever cross the Mississippi to do anything good for us was Meriwether Lewis. And if you actually believe someone from Harvard is going to help you with something, well, I got some great oceanfront property must fail you to sell you.
Yeah, I mean, people like that haven't had a good track record in Missouri, right? And
God hope they never do.
They're still around. I mean, Greitens was away for a while before he came back. I know, Lucas Kuntz grew up in Jeff City and then spent a lot of time in Missouri, and I think moved back right before he ran unsuccessfully, 2 times ago, and is still, hard at it trying to run. But I don't think. I think Missourians are starting to see past that, hopefully.
Scott, let's talk.
You can only hope.
Let's talk about IP reform. After meeting some stiff resistance with Democrat filibuster on and on last week and week before, it passed the Senate. Now in the House, where are we on that? And what is the next hill for the GOP supermajority to climb?
Your old hillbilly pal has a lot of understanding for hypocrisy, just blatant. In your face, I am not a serious person. Nothing I say is serious or matters. Nothing carries on to tomorrow hypocrisy. So the Democrats, they call it ballot candy. They wanted to change how they drew legislative districts, right? They wanted to make them more friendly to Democrats. So they stuck a whole bunch of junk in with it and called it Clean Missouri, right? And it passed, and then it got overturned. The Republicans howled and said, "You can't do that. That's not right." And I agreed with them. Totally wasn't right. It was absolutely a deceptive practice by Missouri Democrats to try to Shanghai people into voting to let them draw the lines easier for them. The Republicans then, after moaning and wailing about this for months and years, have done the exact same thing. A St. Louis state senator has put together a thing which says we want to change the IP reform. Want to make it concurrent majorities. I think that's how you say it. You have to not only win the state over, you have to win 5 congressional districts over. And then they put a whole bunch of junk in there, just stuff that all sounds good, but none of it actually is real, just to kind of get you to trick you. They basically cleaned Missouri IP reform. And finally, somebody with some sense, Mike Searpoy, stepped up and said, we spent years saying this was awful. So what we're going to do, we're just going to put a clean IP reform. We're just going to have a fight straight up. Do you want to change the IP process or not? And the Senate passed it out. So the House looks at it. Now, I think you'll see the House members who moaned and wailed about Queen Missouri and how unfair and deceptive it was. And they were right. Will now totally do the exact same thing now that the worm is turned. And they'll probably send it back to the Senate with a whole bunch of just distraction junk on it that'll make no difference to anyone, but it'll probably sound good in a Facebook post. And then I suspect the Senate gets put in a spot where you start to see the PQ, which is essentially where your state senator becomes a representative for a day and smears the Senate. That's what I predict happens.
Missouri Times publisher and host of This Week in Missouri Politics, Scott Faughn, joins us on Wake Up Mid-Missouri on this busy Monday morning.
Randy, thank you. And Scott, we appreciate you joining us live. I know that filing mentions, we've mentioned this in the newscast, filing is going to start tomorrow morning, bright and early at Secretary Ashcroft's office, 8 a.m. I do know that Congressman Cleaver is scheduled to be in Jefferson City today, so I anticipate he will probably file in the morning. He, of course, represents Kansas City. We know that Congress...
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
When you talk to Emmanuel Cleaver, he's just a guy with integrity. He's just a very honorable guy. Democrat, I know, but an honorable human being.
Yeah, and no question, former mayor of Kansas City, I totally agree with you on that. Congressman Graves and we know Congressman Smith are going to be in Jefferson City tomorrow meeting with the governor, so I anticipate they'll file as well. I expect most of the media, the Capitol Press Corps, I can guarantee you their coverage tomorrow is going to focus on the gubernatorial race. I can see it right now, and it is newsworthy, no question about that. We also have a Senate race that's going on. Josh Hawley is expected to run for re-election, and the name that I don't hear much about, but I'm intrigued by her, is State Senator Carla May from St. Louis. A, what do you think about her? And B, can she win, Scott, in November?
I think Carla May is just an electric speaker. It's funny, she gets those Republicans on the Senate floor. She knows more Bible than they do. She is a very devout religious woman who's a very charismatic speaker. Do I think she can win? No. I don't think Lucas Coons can win either. I think what would seal the deal is if a Missourian would take Josh Hawley to Orchland or Buckeyes, I guess they call it, and buy the guy some clothes. My God. I've never seen any. I am not a fashion boy, but I really think I could help him dress better. He kind of dresses like a guy pretending to be from Missouri. It's just weird. I really think if he could just find him a regular shirt and like a Carhartt jacket, like a real one that you buy off the rack, I think the guy'd be unbeatable. I think he's probably unbeatable anyway. I will tell you the sleeper part of this. Lucas Coons gonna have a lot of money. He always does. He could probably buy that primary. But if Carla May gets through that primary, I think Josh Hawley is smart enough to not debate her. But if he debated her, it would be Carla May would be the next standout in the National Democratic Party if she got on a debate stage. She is that charismatic. She's fun. You just want to watch her, and she can cut you up pretty good in the debate. So, no, I think the Senate race isn't probably materializes to anything, especially if Josh Hawley gets some actual Missouri clothes. But no, I love Carla. If she's the nominee, it'll be more interesting. But no, I don't think that race will seriously be competitive.
Scott, Democratic State Rep Gretchen Bangert's filed that bill she seems to file every session requiring cursive handwriting to be taught in Missouri schools. I guess question to you is that something that's going to get any attention? And What's behind that whole idea?
Oh, John, maybe you could text me what that's about. No, I don't think it. I think cursive handwriting is something that I'll be telling my grandkids about, and they'll be like, "What is that?" I just think that our overwhelming reliance on text messaging and typed communications made it irrelevant. I love Gretchen. She's your throwback to your old Nixon McCaskill labor Democrat. She's got sense, so maybe folks should listen to her. She's running for St. Louis County Council, which is not the place you go if you have a bunch of sense, but Gretchen Bangert is one of the most common sense people I know in my life, much less in politics. But yeah, I don't think that goes anywhere.
Scott Faughn, I got to tell you, I heard through the grapevine that you gave a handwritten, speaking of cursive, a handwritten invitation to Bill Eigel to attend the Stateswoman of the Year event that you're sponsoring. Is that true?
You want to know how funny that we had to pick this in the fall, and this was before they really had their falling out. And so, yeah, I had to text. I texted him. I'm like, look, I don't know what the beef is right now, but I picked this in the fall. And Bill Eigel is welcome to any Missouri Times event, including this one. We'd love to have him, especially because everybody would be looking at him the whole time. It would be his dream. And I texted, it'll be your dream. Everybody will look at you the entire event. So if Bill Eigel comes, he is welcome in any of our events, and maybe especially this one.
Yeah. All right.
And she did tell us a couple weeks ago on the show that they check in with each other every morning, and she asks if she's going to get good Bill or bad Bill that day. So they sound like they're on relatively decent terms.
I think they started off as friends. I think that friendship is well gone. I think there's a lot of folks in Jeff City you could treat the way Bill treats Cindy, and they'd be okay with it. Cindy ain't that. She ain't the one you get free shots on.
All right. Hey, Scott Faughn, we love you, man. Love your analysis and love all you do. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Scott.
Yep.
All right. There he is, Scott Faughn. Now, we're going to be on time for Miss Hannah and her wonderful What's Hot with Hannah. And this will be the warm-up because at 7 spot, and it's What's Hot with Anna.
I will not believe that it's a habit until it happens for a straight week.
It'll be more of a habit than Sally Fields, the Flying Nun, before you know it. You don't even know Sally Fields.
No idea.
Yeah, I
no,
got
clueless. Talk about deer in the headlights.
Sorry. Sorry. Anyway, to change the subject.
I thought it was a pretty good one, though, John.
I hope Scott Faughn isn't listening because this involves my California Lady Pintos. Ooh. And, of course, he is a Blair Oaks fan through and through. And he loves to remind me.
He bleeds Falcon green.
Yes. He loves to remind me that, Blair Oaks whooped our tails in football this year. But it's fine. There's down years for everyone, right? But I'm in a pickle because my alma mater of Centralia, okay, the girls basketball team, won their district title game over the weekend. And the California Lady Pintos also won their district title game over the weekend, right? So they both advance to the first round of the state basketball tournament.
What could be better?
Well, the problem is they're playing each other tonight, and my father-in-law has been giving me a little bit of a hard time about it.
So your native hometown girls won, and your adoptive hometown girls won.
Yeah.
What better? You win either way.
Well, I'm worried, what do I wear to the game, right? Do I wear black and white Centralia gear? Do I wear blue and red Pintos gear?
Half and half.
Also, where do I sit?
Yeah, you need to do the thing like the Kelsey's mom with her double jersey she wore to the Super Bowl last year.
Also, I'm afraid if I wear a Centralia shirt and or root for the Panthers, that my father-in-law might disown me.
Ooh.
It's pretty serious over here. But something interesting as well, Misha, I guess for the state tournament, and this isn't the first year they've done this, it might be the second or third. Once you get into the state tournament, they don't sell physical tickets at the door anymore to the game. So you have to pay your admission online. And they don't release tickets for this game until noon today. And so it's just going to be a frenzy to see if you can get your ticket for tonight, and you won't be able to pay admission at the door. You have to do it in advance. So I have the link saved. I have an alarm set in my phone because both of these teams travel really well and turn out for their high school sports. So I imagine it'll be pretty crowded tonight in California.
So I'm going to ask you the question that must be asked. Who are you going to root for?
I don't know. I need the Wake Up family's help. And I've got this question posted on the Wake Up Facebook page. Who do I root for? And more importantly, what do I wear tonight? Because I don't have time to stitch together, half Pintos, half Panthers. That's a great idea. It worked really well for Donna Kelsey. I don't have time.
Suggestions, Stephanie?
I have a suggestion. I just searched the tournament bracket, and it looks like Southern Boone is facing off against Blair Oaks tonight. So you need to root for Southern Boone is who you need to root for.
That wasn't an option.
That's not what we were discussing. That was a diversion. That was a deflection there.
But also shout out to a whole bunch of local teams are still in the tournament. The Harrisburg boys, the Tipton boys and girls teams, of course, the California girls and the Centralia girls, and I'm sure I missed someone. But lots of local teams.
Why don't you take the very high road and say, I just hope for a great competition. I just want to see great basketball.
I just want them to
have fun. And I hope
fun.
that a referee call doesn't make the difference. And may the best team win. And I'm glad there's not a trans girl on the teams.
Or should I just wear Mizzou and just be
neutral?
neutral?
You better get ready. It's debate season in the political world. You're going to have to defend something when we come back on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Cody Smith at 8:10.
I think just local news is the most important stuff to me, even though it's kind of bad stuff going on around me, but it's the most relevant to me.
can
or the podcast.
Yeah, look for Wake Up Missouri Wake Up Mid Missouri on demand is how it is in the podcast apps, and it's a shortened version of the show. You can get the Cliff Notes. It's a really a really great way to get it. The other person that commented on the cursive, did you see Jim's comment?
I didn't.
He said, I just figured it out with respect to why they're not teaching cursive. He said the U.S. Constitution is written in cursive. These woke jokes can't or don't need to write cursive.
And for those of you that are just joining us and who tuned in and opened up your hearts and your wallets and your purses and your credit cards for the Miracles for Kids Radiothon, thank you so much. $225,100.03 is the number I remember from the check. Is that right? And Brian, I know you were on air. Hannah was on with me. Gary and I were on, and I was just, man, the phones were ringing once things got going.
Yeah.
Great.
I've got a picture up of Hannah and you on our website, 939theeagle.com, KWS.com, top left-hand corner. You can't miss it. And it's more than $225,000. And again, the money is still being calculated right now, but we thank everyone for their generosity. I do want to make a point about this cursive bill. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I know Gretchen Bangert. I've known her for years. She is from my hometown of Florissant. I've worked all over the state in different radio stations, but know her pretty well. And to the gentleman that just wrote in and said she's woke and that is the kind of stuff that kind of divisive rhetoric on both sides is not going to get us anywhere, folks. There's nothing woke about what she's doing.
No, I think Jim was saying the other folks are woke. The people that don't want to teach cursive.
I gotcha. All right. Again, the way it was presented there, but
they can't read or write cursive because they're quote woke and they don't understand the Constitution.
And that's a policy issue.
Then again, if you've ever tried to read any of the chicken scratch that Brian Hauswirth says,
amen.
I've never seen anything like that.
Is there a name for what? It's like hieroglyphics.
It works.
Are you taught that in journalism school or what?
Shorthand.
It's not shorthand, but no, I can read it, and it can read it, but it'd be very hard for others to read it. But
Hannah wants me to give you some instruction in handwriting that's very legible. She told me that during the break.
No, I was going to point out, Randy, that last week you tried to handwrite me a note while we were on air, and I could not read it.
He's a doctor,
He's
though.
a doctor.
He's got the
Absolutely.
That's true.
But Gretchen Bangert's bill is literally, it's House Bill 1502. It is one sentence. It is not a one-page bill. It's a one-sentence bill. It requires school districts to provide instruction in cursive writing. And I know her, and the bottom line is it's not political. It's not going to go anywhere. The bill probably won't pass unless it's an amendment to another bill. I don't think it'll pass as a standalone, but she believes in it. And her argument is a lot of the young people don't know how to write in cursive. And you don't see it as much anymore as you used to anyway. And it's been referred to a special committee on education reform. But nonetheless, it is interesting. And I agree with Scott Faughn. She's a pretty serious lawmaker and a Democrat. Probably not somebody our listeners know much about, but she is definitely someone who she feels very strongly this needs to be done.
There are more and more people that are taking a sabbatical from social media and in some cases tuning out. I've had friends say, I'm done with Facebook and my life is enriched. And I'm wondering if I can tell you, when I get a handwritten note, I remember I got a handwritten note from you.
Yes.
I forget why. I did something and gave you something. I don't know.
It was a nice thing.
A Christmas gift or something.
Yes.
And I got a handwritten. That means a lot. It's just special. And I think that it's so easy to just push a like or a heart and you love what someone wrote. And I think those become a bit gratuitous, and people receiving those know it, even though there's some definitely dopamine candy there in our pleasure centers when we get that.
Sure.
That's why that addiction is perpetuated. But I think cursive and the handwritten note is going to make a comeback. I see Stephanie Bell saying no.
And before anyone comes for me, I can read and write in cursive. Yeah, I was one of the last classes, I think, that got taught.
Okay, before...
It's tough. I used to have to write out really large numbers on checks. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of pack work. Mm-hmm. And so, like, media buys, for example, are very expensive. And when I had to write out things with multiple commas on the check line. We eventually went to typing, but occasionally I would have to handwrite a check, and I would literally have to type it out before and then sit there and focus so hard in trying to get the cursive. It's tough if you don't practice it, but I do think it's beneficial.
It is, and I agree with you, and you're absolutely right about that. And I also agree with Randy. And whether or not it is something that the legislature should get involved in, I'll let you all decide that. The legislators will decide that. I do think there's going to be some support, even on the Republican side, for this. But handwritten, whether it's in cursive or whatever, handwritten thank you notes make a difference. And for you parents out there, make sure your kids learn how to do that. And you know who taught me that, Randy?
Who?
And for the old reporters out there, they'll know. Governor Kit Bond.
Really?
John Marsh will remember this. Anytime Kit Bond would have an event, and I used to cover tons of them, floods, tornadoes, every type of human disaster you could think of that I used to cover, or it could be something routine like him ringing the bell on Christmas Eve at the downtown Columbia post office. Whenever I'd go to interview him and do a story, I would get a handwritten, mailed thank you note from him. And I always remembered that. I don't know that many
means
people
a lot.
do. It means a lot, and I've always tried to do that too. But thanking people means a lot, and I just don't see it much anymore. I don't think people say thank you enough.
If Hannah wants me to stop clicking my pen on air, she'll walk in here and give me a handwritten note. It'll stop.
I keep them all. I have an office desk drawer full of them, and they're just so wonderful. And and I think this is a good reminder because I probably need to do a better job. I got out of the habit, and I think I really appreciate it whenever I get one in the mail. The other person who's super good at this, I want to shout out, is former Representative Sarah Walsh.
Yes.
Anytime I ever appeared in the newspaper or anything, she would just say like, "Wow, I saw this article. You're doing great work. Glad to have you as a constituent or whatever." And she was just excellent.
I tried to do that, not for just normal work done, but for if someone stepped out of their comfort zone or did something special. Up at the hospital when I was running, I would just drop them a little note and just leave it at their space and say, "Hey, I noticed. Thanks for doing that."
In reference to Gretchen Bangard's bill, I remember, and she's filed this like 6 or 7 sessions in a row. I remember some of the opposition to it was kind of well taken in some of the hearings about this was that they've cut curriculum down so much in the public schools that is this something, are we going to get away from higher mathematics so we can teach kids, cursive writing? And I think that was a big argument of some of the opponents of it.
And Scott's right in that, not only are we texting, but my kids do almost everything on their Chromebook. They barely come home with pieces of paper and worksheets. They do some handwriting or whatever, but not a lot. And as they get older, especially my son, everything's in Google Slides. It's in a Word document or whatever, Google Docs, I'm shocked at the amount of computer usage, and everything's on the computer.
Beware the Chromebook.
Why?
Well, the Chromebook also.
Who runs Chromebook?
Well, I'm not sure.
Google. Who runs Gemini Chat that makes George Washington and the Pope black? Elon Musk posted something.
I saw that.
You saw that. Elon Musk is very concerned. First, they were going to fix this in a matter of a short while. Now it may take months to fix. I am ABC, Google, you guys are an existential threat to not only American values and virtues, but the entire planet.
So what are we supposed to buy instead of the Chromebook? A pen.
And look at people, call them directly, believe in what you see and what Brian Hauswirth and John Marsh report, and be very careful about what you believe. Because everything's going to be AI now.
Well, a lot of it is, and that's something you have to be concerned about. And also, you just want to make sure that, as Ronald Reagan used to say, trust but verify. You could apply that in journalism or apply that in anything today.
Right. Okay, let's talk to Tricia. Tricia, handwriting. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Oh, thumbs up. I agree with you, Mr. Tobler.
Yeah.
But the reason I gave my children and my grandchildren for learning cursive is I told them that when grandmother passes on and their inheritance is distributed, the directions to finding their money will be written.
Oh, brilliant. I love it, Tricia. Thank you for that. I have a large box of every Christmas card, every Valentine's card, every anniversary card that my wife has written to me. That's always the highlight. She could give me a new chainsaw, and it would pale in comparison to the card. Well, no, it would pale in comparison to the card she writes.
That's awesome.
I just love those, and I read them, and I read them religiously all the time. I just pull them out randomly. Well, we didn't get to a couple topics. We've got to talk about this 22-year-old nursing student who was killed just randomly murdered by a
Over to more important things like Mountain House freeze-dried ice cream sandwiches, a 6-pack for $9.97. The members-only store is now selling a year's worth of canned and non-perishable food, $6,000 for a family of 4. The $1.50 Costco famous hot dogs are not included. And now a NATO general, Admiral Rob Bauer, who chairs the NATO Military Committee, says you need to have water, you need to have a radio with batteries, tuned to wake up mid-Missouri, presumably, and a flashlight if you can survive the first 36 hours. He did not mention the freeze-dried ice cream sandwiches. Apparently, they don't come in Dutch chocolate. So now you know the rest of that story.
He that advisor puts a lot of stock in things getting back together after 36 hours. I think that's when it gets real dicey myself.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, that's when it gets dicey, because when you start having fresh potable water, when you start having sanitation failure, potable water failure, groceries, if you get an EMP pulse from one of Putin's nuclear destroyers out in, the space, who knows what happens? And I don't know.
So what you're saying is eat the freeze-dried ice cream sandwiches first.
There
right?
you go. Yeah. How do you make ice cream out of a freeze-dried ice cream sandwich?
It's like this
without refrigeration.
Stuff they put in the MREs and freeze-dry it, and then reconstitute it. You've got some sort of soupy room temperature pudding that you're pretending is ice cream.
Or, I mean, a lot of people just eat freeze-dried stuff as is. It's actually pretty popular right now to freeze-dry candy.
Really?
Yeah, like freeze-dried Skittles and stuff. They puff up real big and they sell them, and it's kind of like a crunchy snack.
Freeze-dried Skittles. So what, do you just drop it in water and then it's like one of those balloons?
No, you just eat it as is. You eat the freeze-dried.
Oh. So what does it taste like? Sort of like a
freeze-dried
spongy
Skittle.
Spongy, sort of?
It kind
It's
of
like real
exploded,
crunchy.
like a popcorn. Like it kind of.
It goes from like a real dry consistency to almost like a chewy right at the very end.
Really?
Yeah. I'll have to see if we can get some.
That would be
People
interesting.
freeze dry all sorts of candies.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. The whole
How about freeze-dried nerd clusters? How about that?
Oh, those are very good. I've had those.
Really?
Yes.
The thing that I've been looking for, so if you know where to get these, is I'm kind of obsessed with Kind bars. You saw me eating one today.
Oh, Randy loves those.
They're good.
Randy, look at this. I just saw this. There's a new frozen Kind bar. It looks like
frozen now. Oh.
It's like an ice cream, like a Snickers ice cream bar.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
But with a little bit of protein, I think. I got to get my hands on these.
I don't know. Well, look, we've got to talk about something that's serious here, and because here I wanted you. This is the local. This is about this University of Georgia nursing student who was murdered. Listen. Should be playing.
And they learned lead investigators believe Ibarra randomly chose to kill Laken Riley.
He did not know her at all. I think this was a crime of opportunity.
She was 22, a nursing student. He is 26, from Venezuela.
He did not attend school at the University of Georgia. This was an individual who woke up with bad intentions on that day. This was just a crime of opportunity, no motive.
Now, I am sorry, but I've had it. How many of you listening have absolutely had it? I was discussing with a young man who's very close to me the other day. He says, why don't we all just stop paying our taxes? We pay our taxes for protection. This 22-year-old nursing student is taken out by a guy with no motive. We've got the Michigan caucus nationally, primary nationally, and of course statewide, things are heating up as well. Joining us now is House Budget Chair and candidate for state treasurer, we might add, Cody Smith from Jasper County. How you doing, Cody? Thanks for being with us.
I'm doing well. Great to be on this morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so things are just sailing through, right? Just slick as silicone in a greased lock, right? Not a problem.
Well, it's a kind of a two sides to that coin. The Missouri House is working very diligently, and as is our way, we crank out legislation and work through our process very efficiently. And the Missouri Senate is quite the opposite this year. I think they've maybe passed they perfected one bill last week. So that's a start, but no, they have been less than productive so far this year.
Now, there was, I think, some legitimate criticism, or at least there was some spirited discussion in the wake of the dramatic increase in Missouri's budget last year. And I think most people would agree that, there was major work needed on Highway 70. But, I mean, you talk about a pretty dramatic expansion. Do you think that will be throttled back this year when it's all said and done?
I do think we'll see the budget naturally contract a little bit. A lot of what we've seen in the growth over the last couple of years has been the influx of federal dollars to the state of Missouri. And just like every other state across the nation, you've seen our state budget being inflated because of the things like the CARES Act, the ARPA Act, these wise pieces of legislation that the Congress has in all their infinite wisdom passed and showered each of the states with a bunch of federal money. And so, our challenge has been to wisely invest those dollars into our state's infrastructures as best we can. And the I-70 expansion is kind of a byproduct of being able to invest those things wisely and free up state revenue to do things like completely reconstruct I-70. But as those dollars start to get out the door into the state, you'll see the budget naturally start to shrink again back to a more normal size.
Now, the Senate has already taken up the FRA once, and I think it's back on the informal calendar. How do you see that issue? How does that issue affect the budget, and how do you see that issue playing out in the House?
Well, the FRA is a very critical piece of our state's budget. It provides about $4 billion in revenue in total, and it is a mechanism with which we get an increased federal match on some of the money that we use for Medicaid. And so about 3 years ago, this FRA tax is essentially what it is, comes up for renewal every so often. It has a sunshine, or has had in years past. And so 3 years ago, it was up for renewal, and we had to go to a special session to get it passed. In addition to that, there was a call to defund Planned Parenthood in the process. And the Missouri House passed two bills. One would renew the FRA tax, one would defund Planned Parenthood. The Senate only passed one. They renewed the FRA tax. So fast forward to today, those same folks that are advocating for the Planned Parenthood language to be added to the FRA tax because it is such an important piece of legislation that must pass, they feel like this is a good opportunity to defund Planned Parenthood once and for all. And so that's really kind of where the controversy comes in around the FRA tax. But for this Planned Parenthood situation that we've been working on for years, the FRA tax is relatively non-controversial in and of itself. So we actually are working on legislation in the Missouri House this week. I have a House bill that hopefully will be perfected in third read this week that would defund Planned Parenthood or all other abortion providers in the state of Missouri once and for all. And what that means is that these are Medicaid providers, and now that we've effectively outlawed abortion in the state of Missouri, we want to go a step further, and we've been fighting this fight for years now. We don't want to do any business with abortion providers or their affiliates, because we know that when we're providing Medicaid reimbursement for their services, even though those services might not be related to abortion directly, we are ultimately subsidizing their mission. And organizations like Planned Parenthood are certainly in the elective abortion business, and we just don't want to have anything to do with that. So we started with some budget language back in 2016. We've had a couple of versions of that, a couple of Supreme Court decisions that said we cannot do it that way. So this bill would codify in statute that we are going to exclude those folks as providers and hopefully put an end to this long story here in the state of
Well,
Missouri.
Representative Smith, as a guy who struggled trying to make ends meet at a safety net hospital in Scotland County, way up near the Iowa border, one of almost 3 dozen critical access hospitals, and there's other struggling non-critical access hospitals. Between the departments of health and rural hospitals and all of the urban and suburban and ex-urban opportunities that people have to get the kind of non-abortion services that Planned Parenthood offers and that they tout, on its face, it just makes no sense to fund them anyway. outside of the abortion argument, or is that too simplistic of an analysis?
No, I don't think it is. And until about 2017, there were federal laws that said that any willing Medicaid provider, that states really couldn't pick and choose between any willing and capable or able Medicaid provider. And so that was the law of the land until about 2017, when President Trump signed a bill that would enable states to exclude certain types of providers. And so now this is federally legal. We've seen a few states do this. And we have a pro-life state like Missouri. As I've said, we've effectively ended abortion here. And so it does make sense that we do not want to do any business with these types of providers. We can exclude them now through statute, and that's what we should do. In fact, it's what we've been trying to do for years. This is a little bit different approach, and hopefully should put an end to it for good.
That is State Representative and House Budget Chair, Committee Chair, Cody Smith, joining us here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. And there's a lot going on, John.
Representative, I guess the question that keeps cycling back, and I'm sure you get it, on the floor of the House with the Freedom Caucus and filibusters since literally day one on the Senate side. You're going to have a repeat of last year and not be able to get much, if anything, done.
Well, if I were guessing here, I wouldn't bet that there will be many bills passed this year. I think the budget will pass, and the FRA will pass, and the Planned Parenthood bill will pass, I hope. We're working on initiative petition reform. That's the bill that was perfected in the Missouri Senate last week. So there will be, I think, a low volume of bills, which isn't always a bad thing on its face. We don't necessarily need to change all the laws to fix all the things in society. But there are certain years when we do need to pass some bills, and obviously we need to pass a budget every year. This year we need to pass our Planned Parenthood fix and defund them once and for good. We also need to pass our FRA renewal. So there are a handful of things that we absolutely must do, and I do think we'll get those done, but not a year for extras per se. So, the dysfunction over on the Senate side, there are good arguments on all sides of that conversation, I believe. I think there are a bunch of personalities there that just need to exit the Missouri Senate ultimately, and we need to start again with some new blood, so to speak, bad blood over there. But it's an unfortunate situation that it's come to this, but again, not always a terrible thing that we don't pass a lot of bills. I do think we'll pass the ones that are most needed this year, but not a good year for a lot of bills.
Mr. Chairman, we appreciate you joining us. In fact, one of the last stories I did when I was at Missouri Net before I came here to the Eagle, the last story I did in 2021 was this FRA issue. And I remember you telling me an extension was critical to funding Missouri Medicaid, and even then there was some issue about abortion, so we'll pay close attention to that. I want to ask you about something that has not gotten a lot of media attention, but I've certainly reported on it several times, and it was a call. You were in the chamber when she did so. Missouri's Chief Justice, Mary Russell, noted juror pay has not been increased since 1989. It's just $6 per day, Mr. Chairman, 7 cents a mile. And she notes that it hasn't been increased. That's basically, you're talking about 35 years ago. John Ashcroft was governor. Bob Griffin was Speaker of the House. That's a long time. What are the chances of that bill or some sort of jury pay increase getting across the finish line?
Good to be with you this morning, Brian. I hope you're doing well.
Yep.
The juror pay piece, there are a bunch of moving parts within the state's budget that pay different folks that are doing different things, whether it's direct care providers in our healthcare services or attorneys in the public defender's office or highway patrol troopers or correction officers at our Department of Corrections. And we kind of take piecemeal approaches, and we catch them up over the course of time. And so juror pay is one thing that's been talked about recently, and certainly that's been too long since those reimbursements or compensations were adjusted. But really, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of the bottom line. Do you have a lot of money to go around? Do you have a little extra money to do those types of things? And this year, we've seen revenues start to flatten out. We've seen kind of a meteoric rise in state revenues over the last couple of years, and then we've cut taxes. And so, in fact, I was able to pass the largest income tax in the state's history a couple of years ago during a special session, and we've seen those taxes start to come into effect in the state and affect the state's revenues. Also, we had Senate Bill 190 last year, which ended income taxes on Social Security benefits, and so all told, we've got about $550 million in tax cuts coming off the top of our state's revenues heading into this fiscal year. So we have to be very judicious, no pun intended, about how we spend any extra dollars right now. But I am tracking with that juror pay issue, and I do agree that it's long since overdue that we make an adjustment there. So I'm trying to find a little extra money to do that. But certainly there are lots of needs across the state budget, and our state's Medicaid program, which we've already talked about a little bit this morning, is ever more expensive, always more expensive each year to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. So it makes everything else pretty difficult to make increases on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Was that a call for some different ways of looking at Medicare expenditure? I'd love to have a meeting with you. There's a better way to approach this, Cody. I mean, I don't know. At any rate,
yes.
All right. Is there any way that as chair of the committee that has the purse strings in their hands, and maybe getting together over a cup of coffee or maybe even something more adultish than that with Lincoln Huff, you guys could do something in the economic realm with funding to move what every Republican that I know, whether they're a Freedom Caucus guy or a mainstream guy or gal, education reform. They did it in Arizona. They did it in Iowa. Everyone else is light years ahead of us, and we're just making a snail's pace. Is there anything you can do in terms of defunding DESE or something? I mean, what can we do? We've got to move this ball down the field.
Yes, I would love to see that happen in Missouri, and it's been a difficult fight. 2021, we passed the Most Scholars Program, which is an empowerment scholarship account program that is really a great program. It allows families to utilize scholarships to their children's education as they see fit. And of course, I believe that is kind of the magic ingredient in a child's education, their parents being empowered and able to make choices on their behalf depending on what's best for them. When it comes to education reform, there are a variety of different ways that we can approach it. We've got that Most College program. We've got the open enrollment bill that we saw the Missouri House pass out very early this year that would allow children to choose from any public school in the state. And we've got things like vouchers and charter schools. Right now in Missouri, charter schools are only in St. Louis and Kansas City proper. There have been some pieces of legislation, I believe, on the Senate side filed to perhaps allow those in Columbia or Boone County specifically. So that would add some choice there for you all in mid-Missouri. But truly, this is a statewide issue. And whether it's the Empowerment Scholarship or charter schools or whichever tool in the toolbox that we decide to look at, there is need for school choice across the state. And certainly my record reflects that I'm supportive of each of those things. And, I would love to have a conversation with Senator Huff about that. I would invite you to ask him what he thinks about it. But my vote is a yes on all those things.
And it was announced, even the Springfield News Leader announced that they were going to get a Trader Joe's, and then the Trader Joe's person was like, oops, sorry about that. I thought you were in Springfield, Virginia. So Springfield is going to have to wait a little bit longer, and that's making some headlines. So that's real sad. And then also, if you were some of those folks that were affected by the AT&T outage on Thursday, you should know that they feel sorry enough that they're going to give you a $5 credit. So you should feel good about that. Now, in the business news this morning, though, you should know the Dow Jones is changing today, changing forever.
What?
Monday, yeah. So they're swapping out Walgreens for Amazon. Whoa.
Throwing them off of the Dow Jones Industrials?
For sure.
Holy cow.
They're coming in. And so the Dow, I think, let's see, it's undergone 52 modifications since its inception in May 1896. That's one. And then the other major thing is that Walmart is going to do a 3-to-1 split, and they're in the Dow. So that's another big change as of today. So, I think that happens. That was announced on Friday, but a 3-for-1 stock split. So big changes coming to the Dow. So we will keep an eye on that for you. But
I remember y'all talking about Buc-ee's going down in Springfield, and I'm wondering when something of that is going to Australia and the girls of California.
Yeah, except the Centralia crowd is weighing in pretty heavily on the Wake Up Mid-Missouri Facebook page.
You getting swayed that way?
Well, I even had a couple people say they're disappointed that I'm even concerned about it.
Now, have you and your husband...
You wore their colors.
Yeah.
Have you and your husband discussed this?
Oh, we haven't. My father-in-law is giving me a hard time about it as of yesterday. I haven't heard from him yet this morning. But what people don't realize is the game is in California.
Well, Randy's about to give you a hard time
Well,
about something
speaking
else.
of giving Hannah a hard time.
What are you holding?
Well, I'm looking at the Wall Street Journal Weekend, which I really like that paper because they have like lifestyle stuff and they talk about what kind of fizzy water people are drinking and stuff.
That he's bothered enough that he brought the copy. He read it this weekend and was like, I am saving this and bringing it with me.
Did you bring your Stanley Cup with you?
I did.
This article entitled "The Stanley Cup Runneth Under." Trust us, the cult favorite water bottle has issues. Here, 3 better options.
Is this an opinion article?
It's in the lifestyle section. I don't know.
I'm going to guess probably yes.
Okay.
What are the 3 better options?
Well,
I have to know.
Here are the 3 critiques and then 3 options to think about. It's too heavy.
It is rather large.
The $45 Power Chugger water bottle has taken over TikTok feeds and become a bona fide office status symbol. Isn't she special that she's got that?
Well, listen, it serves a dual purpose. It's like a self-defense weapon. If I'm in a parking garage and someone tries to, mug me or whatever, I got a mug for them, right?
You're going to mug them.
Yeah.
The Stanley isn't just garish, the Wall Street Journal writers say.
Garish, wow.
This is actually Perry Ormond from Bloomberg, so you might go figure. Here are its shortcomings and some promising alternatives. Stanley did not respond to requests for comment. 1, it's too heavy. The Nalgene Outdoor Wide Mouth Sustain water bottle, just 6 ounces when empty, about a third of the weight, is a stalwart hiker's companion. Okay.
I was going to say, it is a 40-ounce cup, so I don't know what they expect.
All right. It's badly insulated. Stanley claims its quenchers keep beverages iced for up to 2 days. Some owners report online that their precious cubes start melting long before.
Did they see the fire video?
Yeah, I'm going to have to call BS on that one.
Yep.
I think John, I'm sorry. I'm bringing my old beat up Aladdin thermos made by Stanley that my grandpa owned before me, and I'm going to bring that in. We're going to have an ice cube challenge.
Well, yours has an insulated lid, though. I feel like that's not fair.
Now we're making excuses.
Are we guessing the third one? And if you have a Stanley Cup, you have to spend half your day in the bathroom. That's what I'm going potty all day long.
And then the third one is a legit one. You've talked about this, Hannah. It's hard to clean.
Ugh.
If not washed regularly, the Stanley Cup can acquire mold. And while you can safely put it in the dishwasher, you must first completely disassemble it. Is it hard to disassemble?
Well, I don't have a dishwasher. I wouldn't say it's hard to disassemble, but do I think to do it very often?
Well, for those of you who have the Stanley good luck and status symbol charm, good luck getting the rubber ring-shaped gasket back on the lid when you're done.
Doesn't it spill, too? I've heard that.
Yeah, it's not leak-proof, but it doesn't claim to be
And
either.
that's my beef with 40 ounces. Zimmer gave us a cup, and it was nice of them to get, but it's huge, right? And I'm if it tips over or spills, I've just spilled a gallon of liquid wherever it is. So
I'm pretty clean.
Ugh.
Look at you. Good job. All right.
I'm pretty clean.
So what cup should we be buying instead?
Well, I don't know. The options they suggest, weight-wise, the Nalgene Outdoor Wide Mouth Sustain.
Was this sponsored by Nalgene?
No, well, I don't.
I don't know anybody
figure.
who's had an Nalgene in the last 20 years. They were really popular when I was in college. Yeah, but lately
it's a backpacker thing almost.
Yeah.
Probably has the BPAs in it and stuff. It's badly insulated. Okay, Clean Canteen insulated water bottle.
I have a coffee mug that's Clean Canteen, actually from the Main Street Summit here in Columbia. I love it.
They claim that it keeps contents iced for up to 59 hours.
I only put hot stuff in it, but it is great.
Plus, the leak-proof twist cap and straw shaft made from naturally non-reactive stainless steel promise to prevent flavors from lingering if you switch your drinks. It's hard, and it's only $35.
It's only $10 cheaper than the Stanley one.
The Awala Free Sip can go in the dishwasher.
What is that?
The Awala. I want to try this one. And if my husband is listening right now, he's probably screaming at the radio because I have a gazillion cups, right?
Yeah.
Cups and water bottles are my thing.
Not caps?
But the Owala has like the spout that looks like it's hard to clean it too.
So the Owala, you can either tip the cup to chug, or you can use it like with a straw.
Sounds like something Biden would like.
It's multi-purpose.
Well, and so with straws, they say like if you're drinking colored drinks, if you drink through a straw, it stains your teeth, so that's a problem. And then also like you can get smoker's mouth, and I've heard that from Stanley too. If you're constantly drinking out of a straw, you're going to get wrinkles like you smoke around your mouth.
There's a fix for that. Go to your local spa, get that fixed.
Drinking
Drinking
colored drinks out of a straw.
Yeah.
Stains your teeth.
No, the straw's better for you, right? So you want the straw.
Yes.
So that way it bypasses your teeth.
That's because I was getting ready to say that.
I said
sounds
that backwards.
You know, I had a dentist tell me once that you're supposed to, if you're worried about coffee and wine and tea stains on your teeth, if you drink with a straw, and it makes sense because it gets it to the back of your mouth.
It's supposed to be better, but now we're not. None of us are supposed to be, using straws anymore. And then they converted to paper straws, and that's when I'm like, just don't give me.
And now they have fancy straws that are supposed to prevent those mouth wrinkles that you're talking about.
Oh, really?
And they basically, it's a special straw. It looks like a fancy bendy straw, but the part that sits parallel to the ground has a hole in the top of it, almost like a flute. And so you drink out of it like that.
Sort of like a mouthpiece.
Kind of.
Yeah,
sounds like a bong is what it sounds like.
And John would know. All right. Now, look, we have to return to something serious. Donald Trump has produced a new ad, and at least I'm suggesting that this be his new ad for the immigration issue.
I was going to say, don't start fake news.
It's going to be no, I know. Donald Trump. Well, where I got this from was Citizen Free Press that resurrected this bite from the 1995 State of the Union speech by a famous president who was once the darling of the Democrat Party. And I think somehow Trump does need to incorporate this because it's going to be this. I got a feeling this election is going to come down to abortion on the one side versus borders on the other side. I mean, I think the economy is a close second. But here's someone that the Democrats once adored, and this was him in 1995 with a very young and youthful-looking Newt Gingrich sitting behind him.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to...
There you go. That was Bill Clinton, 1995, when the people streaming across the border paled in comparison. Those numbers paled in comparison to what this so-called great plan that they had that fell asunder, thank God, 2 weeks ago. We're going to allow 5,000 a day. I mean, Bill Clinton got it right. Where are the Democrats? They've lost their minds.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Trump focuses on the border, it's good for him. And I think what we've seen in recent polling is the issue is really important amongst voters. And I think the other thing is once you put those numbers in context, and I don't have them right in front of me, but the total number is somewhere is more than many states. And I think if I was Trump, I would just flash that up on TV from now until November.
I had a private text from someone who listens to the program and said, be careful about Planned Parenthood. I had a service there a few years ago when I couldn't get in to see my private OBGYN, for 6 weeks. It wasn't an acute issue, but it needed to be done. Well, part of the reason Americans have access problems, especially in certain pockets, like in the southern tier, certainly in our metro areas, and it's getting worse, is because of the demand of uninsured illegals who can flood our healthcare facilities and get care on demand. I mean, people are distracted from the care for everyday taxpayers, people that have employee or their own insurance. I mean, it's an access to health care problem, too, as well as the funding of health care and taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, I mean, I hope our facilities are tracking that because that you bring up a really good point. I mean, not only are they, draining our just government resources, and we've seen that in states like Texas, but they're draining our healthcare resources. I hadn't thought about that. Yikes.
And you know what? I don't think this is any conspiracy theory. These people, these Democrats that want to endorse this kind of mass invasion, these people get counted in the census. And they know that is going to change districting and everything. You know more about that than I do as far as how that works in the weeds. It's a big deal. These people how are they going to identify and, how are they going to vote in those that allow state voting? And
well, and what we heard from Scott Faughn earlier today was, Republicans want, this extra stuff in IP reform, and it's all silly. One issue that was stripped out that a lot of people have pushed back on is non-citizen voting. And so what they had added to IP reform is, hey, only citizens can vote.
Yep.
And there's a lot of debate about the language that currently exists in the Missouri Constitution about that. But what they've seen is, and people are pushing back, and I think on this issue, rightfully so, in that in states with the same language that Missouri has, they've had local governments come in and say, guess what, we're going to let non-citizens vote. And so they're saying we actually need this provision in our Constitution to prevent people like St. Louis saying, guess what, we're going to let non-citizens vote. Now,
or Columbia
do that. And so, I think we have seen that in other states. And then Scott Faughn's pushback would be, well, that's fine if you want to do non-citizen voting. Then it needs to be separate from IP reform. So separate them out. You kind of get the same argument that you do with the funding of wars in D.C. Put everything on their own and quit smashing them together. Whether how the House will shake out on that. So that was one. What was the other thing? The other thing was kind of like foreign money in elections.
You bet.
And so those were the two provisions that were really at issue with the IP reform. But I think the non-citizen voting, I think people in Missouri are saying, yeah, I think we should have to be a citizen to vote.
Hannah, could we put a poll up? I just want to have some fun with this. If, when you go into the hospital or you go into your doctor's office and you're asked, how bad is your pain on a 0 to 10 scale? How angry do you get? How high does your blood pressure get? How boiling, frost your buns, get your goat, burr under your saddle mad do you get when you hear about a 22-year-old nursing student murdered just for no apparent reason, just an opportunistic, I'm going to go kill someone today, crime, with a Venezuelan immigrant who came in under the stupid mass parole rules that Joe Biden, with a strike of his pen, initiated. And as far as an issue that will encourage you and inspire you to talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your coworkers, and really, get people out to vote for border hawks. Where are you on that scale? Are you a 4? Are you a 5? Are you an 8? Where are you on that? Let us know. Or text us, 573-874-9390. Leftovers when we come back on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. having a lot of fun with her Stanley Cup. Stephanie, what do you have on your plate?
SCOTUS is hearing arguments today on a big social media case, not on the Missouri v. Biden case, but a different one. Florida and Texas passed laws basically saying that they couldn't remove, these big tech companies couldn't remove political content, kind of in response to like when they blocked Trump and some of the stuff surrounding January 6th. That case has very important First Amendment implications and is actually going before the court. And it's not really a partisan issue. A lot of folks, even on the right, are saying, no, these are private companies. If they want to block whoever they want to block, then they should be allowed to do
Others
that.
are saying, though, I think, is it Ken Paxton out of Texas saying, wait a minute, I think they're taking some state action saying, you know what, these should be regulated as public utilities like the phone company.
Certainly that's an argument.
I like that argument.
I disagree with that argument, but there is going to be a decision from the Supreme Court that will likely affect content moderation and kind of shape how this conversation moves forward.
If they weren't so big and so monolithic, I would agree with your argument. They've become, though, I think it's gotten into the equivalent of antitrust.
No, because look at TikTok. I mean, it's totally taking over. And it was nowhere 2 years ago. So there's still plenty of competition in the marketplace.
If you know how to do TikTok, that is. John, what you got spoiling in your refrigerator there?
Well, this is a weird one from the crime beat. It happened Friday morning when a man was arrested in Jefferson City, and police say he pulled a gun on a woman in a parking lot at the doctor's office. Man's name was Mark Suley. The woman said that he showed the gun to her twice and demanded she not park next to him. And police say he allegedly admitted to pointing the gun and told police he thought the woman was going to hit his vehicle. So
oh, my.
That's the way to clear out a space in the parking lot.
Oh, my God.
Huh?
I'm telling you, if we don't get what we like, we just pull out a gun these days. Hey, by the way, if you want to go to Switzerland and Austria and Bavaria with me and my wife and Scotty Cox from Clear 99, you can do that in September. You can learn about it tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. It'll be, for those of you who have pre-registered for that, it's an informational meeting, and it was going to be here at Zimmer headquarters on Lamone Industrial, but just a little hop, skip, and a jump south is the Courtyard at Marriott. It's been moved there because of all the interest. And if I can get enough helpers to carve up some cubes of bread and some apple and pear slices,
Why are you looking at me?
I brought a lot of fondue. I've already worked it out.
Oh.
And I have some chocolate specialties for you.
You need an intern. But yeah, no, how fun would that be to see so many Wake Up family members taking a trip together? Yeah. I think that would be awesome. I got to meet some Wake Up family members this weekend. We did the big Boots and Bows dance, father-daughter dance at Southern Boone, and saw a lot of Wake Up fam members, so that was really exciting. And of course, I'm looking forward to seeing a whole bunch of our friends on Thursday night at the Boone County Lincoln Days, and I think there's still a few tickets available, so if you were planning on going and don't have your tickets, make sure you give them a call.
And the list of speakers are a bunch of folks you're going to want to hear and try to sort out. We have a lot of great candidates for many offices locally and statewide, so you'll be wanting to get on that. Now, I don't have a quiz. Well, we'll have to save that for tomorrow. I had a quiz because Jack Posobiec said something at CPAC last week that frightened the heck out of me. But others have said, nah, you overreading it. Well, I guess we'll have to left over that.